Trump, I can imagine it's difficult not being able to write from your own opinions, your own voice. But even though you do write for partisan figures, have you ever run into a situation where you had to compromise your personal beliefs?
So I get asked this question a lot, and my pat answer is if I wanted to agree with somebody 100% of the time, I would run.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I mean, that's the only way to assure that, and I'm not running. So, in part because we talk a lot about political figures, give them, and I'm not naive. They're bad apples. There's no question. But by and large, we are very fortunate in this country to have some pretty phenomenal people step up and do this job. And it's not that it comes with a lot of perks, and I get all of that, but it's also pretty thankless. I mean, to have your life examined in that way. Increasingly, we're seeing people bringing children into this stuff and their spouses, and it's very personal and nasty. I mean, I feel like the internet has just now infected our politics. It's like everybody's forgot, no, when you're standing at that rally shouting that, you're not anonymous. We can all see you. You're not hanging out behind it's just like now it's just moved that line of what people think is acceptable. And it's really personal and nasty. And there are people who still get up and decide, I'm going to run for office and try to advance policies that will improve people's lives, whether you agree with those policies or not. They actually get up and decide to do that, often at great expense to their personal lives. And I will say, as somebody who has done a presidential campaign all the way through, from before Iowa, caucuses, all the way to election night, that schedule is unbelievable. I mean, everywhere I am and I'm exhausted, they have to do my schedule, plus they get up and they give the speech. So, and then they get to go, I get to go back to the hotel and sleep. They got to go to a finance dinner and, do 7 interviews and be up in the morning. So, it's a pretty grueling schedule, and I wouldn't want to do it. So, but I still want to serve in some capacity. I know how to write. That's what I know how to do. That's the way I can be of service to, to ideas and to goals and values that I care about and feel deeply passionate about. And so I have to go and find other people. And what I aim for is about 90% agreement. So there are a lot of people. When you first start, you say that, but you kind of don't mean it entirely. There was a smaller list of people I wouldn't work for when I first started because I just wanted experience. Nobody wanted to hire me, and so I just wanted to have a business card that said writer on it. And I was very fortunate in the fact that I wound up with somebody who was very good and very kind. Although as time has gone on, I have very much shifted from the views that I had when I worked for him. He had a very different view about budget and fiscal matters than I would say I have now. But I aim for 90%, and my key thing is that 10% just can't be deal breaker stuff. For example, the travel ban. Anybody who's out there speaking and saying that the travel ban, the way that it is conceived, is either constitutional or is really the policy that we ought to have in this country, I can't write that speech for you. And not because I can't. I'm talented enough to do it. I just won't. But I'll give you an example where I would be willing to compromise, and I have, which is I am very concerned about animal protection. My husband and I have been vegetarians. I had to start eating chicken when I had a baby, doctor's orders. But by and large, I feel very strongly about that issue. And when you work as a Republican, you get asked all the time to write stuff for the NRA. They have these big NRA shows, and usually the people that you're writing for want to go and talk about hunting. And I just can't write that speech because I respect that that's a different perspective that people have. For a lot of people, that's an important part of their kind of heritage within their family or their cultural heritage. But I can't write that speech for you. And as a matter of fact, but that doesn't mean I've never written an NRA speech, even an NRA speech that I've been asked to write about hunting. And what I think is important about what you guys are doing with the bipartisan dialogue, and what's been important even just amongst people with me on my own side of the aisle, is I have sat down with people who said, I want to go to the NRA and I want to talk about hunting and I want to tell my hunting stories. And I say, do you know how that sounds to people who hunting is not part of their worldview? do you understand that when you get up there and you talk about guns in that way, it sounds very almost irresponsible to them. It sounds like this is just sporting, that you're not treating a firearm with the, incredible respect that it deserves as something that is, a violent weapon and could harm someone. And a lot of times challenging in that way is the first time they've ever had somebody look, especially in the Republican Party, look at them and be like, actually, I'm your kind of key demographic because I'm in your party. And if you gave that speech, I would just kind of walk away and be like, I don't think you get it. Yeah. A far better argument, and one we all share, is a conversation about the Constitution and what limits, if there are any, can be brought to the Second Amendment, right? That's a much better speech. It's a national speech. It's a big think speech. It's not some stupid, personal story about you and a moose. But it was hard. And Palin is not persuaded by that. Palin would not. Palin is a big hunter, and that's a big part of who she is. But I just can't. I would find a way to delegate that speech elsewhere. I wouldn't write it.
Okay. So I think we have time for one more question.